What up, team? It's your boy MurderInc here, back again with another HL Legends video. We're talking about Helicath upcoming fusion. Is it not worth it? That is up to you to decide. But what I've done here today is I've made a completely free-to-play way to use this guy. We're not booking him. We'll probably master him in this video just in case you want to, but you won't have to in the end. But I'm going to be showing you a team using pretty much just him as a legendary and other champions that are fairly easy to acquire here. We do have 2 rares, 2 epic champions, and it's just going to be a good time. But first, let's go over this guy's kit, see if we were right on what the books were going to be. As anyone who's been playing for a long time, and I also predicted this, it's only going down to a 4-turn cooldown. I know a lot of people said it could be a 3-turn cooldown. We just haven't seen it enough, and it was more realistic to see this go down to a 4-turn cooldown total. As far as the A2 goes, Winds of the Pit, this will in fact go down to a 3-turn cooldown if you will book it, but we do have 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 books. So a little bit on the higher side here, especially since you're probably going to want the A3 booked, and I know there are going to be some people with 11 books to spare in case you get bad luck and you end up hitting the last 2, like I've done plenty of times trying to book champions. Legendary books are expensive, they're very rare in this game, so I came up with ways to use this guy without booking him at all, as I mentioned before, so let's hop right into that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to be looking at the Dragon. Dragon's probably one of the most farmed places for anyone that's early game, mid game, late game. Even some end game players are still farming Dragon, looking for that speed gear. But if you're end game and late game, this video is not for you, trust me. So if you are a newer player and you want to get this champion and use him right away, you don't want to have to wait to book him for any crazy teams that people are going to come up with this guy, this is what you can do. So let's head straight into the Dragon here. Now I do realize that I have a full Great Haul. I had to take all of that into account when making the teams that I'm going to be showing you for Dragon. I got rid of all of my faction guardians because those extra stats also did matter, and anything I could do to lower the total stat values I had on my champions was going to be the most ideal for me in this showcase. So we are going to be showing stage 20 on Dragon here. This is the team I'm going to use. We have Helicath as our leader, Venomage, War Maiden, Ursula, and Kale as a common starter plus War Maiden. Most people farm that champion, and I do know that I'm using a Void Epic. She can be swapped in, she's kind of like a fail-safe. Let's just go ahead and look at the team setup so you guys can see the stats that we're using for this right now. We do have Helicath. He has pretty decent base defense, so it was rather easy to get this high without using crazy gear. The key thing to know here is 141 speed. You'll see why the speed is that low once we get into the runs. The only thing I have prioritized here is going to be the A2 being used first. We will also see the value of that as we go further into the run, because I do have the A3 being used in the second wave here. So if you can build this team, you can even go a step further and disable the A3 from being used in round 1. So these are the stats for Helicath. They do look rather high, but keep in mind he's a legendary, has good base stats, and he's fully ascended despite him not having masteries. Venomage, 33,000 health, 1800 defense, 179 speed, nothing too crazy there. I think 215 speed on the Ursula. This could be high depending on how lucky you got. I had extra gear, extra stats, so I threw it all in accuracy instead. War Maiden, 221 speed. Again, it could be a little bit high, but you always want your defense down champion to go first. It's just a logical way. Kale, I think I did a pretty good job with. Resistance, I couldn't do anything. My Great Haul, I already went over that. 2600 health, 1800 attack. We did crit cap him, which is a bit harder to do, but I am showing stage 20, so by then hopefully most people have their champions crit cap. So the reason why this guy's slow, and you might have figured it out when I was talking about it, you want him to go last and just before the enemy waves go. And if you're familiar with how fast the enemies in the waves are, they are very, very slow. They're actually their base speed of whatever model you see here. Of course, not including the turn meter boost they are getting from Apothecary. So by having him slow here, we have a huge advantage to make sure Helicath is using his shield just before they get a chance. So we have a 2-turn shield on all of our champions here, giving them the highest, I guess, chances of surviving these waves, because let's be honest, the waves can be very, very annoying. Once you get to the Dragon, it's pretty much GG easy. So here we are in stage 2 here. We have Strengthen, and increased defense, also being complemented by, of course, Ursula the Mourner here, which is why I did use her. She also has that AoE attack down, which is going to be fantastic for this. Now, after I showcase this, what's going to be interesting is I'm going to be using the same speeds and most of the same champions for the Nightmare clan boss. Now, if you've ever just reached stage 20 on the dragon for the first time, you know you're pretty far away from attempting the Nightmare clan boss. I mean, if you pull a Dracomorph, they're going to get there like day 3, so you're going to be extremely far away from being able to touch Nightmare clan boss. But with the stats I showed you here, we are going to head straight on to the Nightmare clan boss here, and we're going to see how much damage we can do. But as you can see, we cleared this pretty easily using this champions. Again, the stats are going to be a bit higher than the average player here. I did the best I could. They are missing gear, accessories, so on and so forth. However, based on the smoothness of this, I've ran this quite a few times. I tried different champion combinations. This is going to be a very successful team to use if you do plan on using this guy. Who can you swap for? Ursula the Mourner, my favorite champion, Grush the Mangler. I know he's green affinity and we are fighting a blue affinity boss here, but his heals alone are going to be huge. He also has an AoE attack down or decreased crit damage just in case one of those Hordens get one of those nasty crits off. That usually does one-shot a champion. You can definitely save yourself here for sure by having that decreased crit damage on those Hordens, making the waves even more smooth than possible. So this is going to be a pretty smooth run here. As I said before, it's not going to be the fastest run, but listen, when you're farming stage 20 Dragon's Lair for the first time, you just care about gear. You put this on auto farm and you just let it run, right? So you get the gear, you improve your champions, and from there you move on. So with that being said, you can use this team in pretty much any dungeon. Fire Knight's going to be a bit tricky, as everyone already knows. You need a certain amount of hits to get through the waves, but the main purpose was me showing that to get through the waves and then to build your team around the actual boss at the end, whether it's Ice Golem, Fire Knight, Spider. The only thing you have to do differently with Spider is, of course, the Spiderlings are going to be faster than the base mobs, but we don't want you re-gearing your Helicath just to make sure this works in Spider, unless that's all you need. If you already have a solid dragon team, then I wouldn't recommend building this champion to replace all of your dungeon teams, unless that's what's going to be most beneficial to you. If you do want to use Helicath in a stage 20 or whatever run you're currently progressing on, all you have to do is make sure you have some type of turn meter booster so you're getting that shield off prior to the Spiderlings going. If not, you're going to be in trouble. They're going to completely destroy your team here. And then you can use HP burn champions. Enemy max health isn't as good in the lower stages, but Spider with this guy is pretty self-explanatory. You're going to have more than just him to make this work. It's pretty much the same thing as having a miscreated monster. While Helicath doesn't stun, he is going to be able to provide you with the shield. The shield's going to be nowhere near as big as miscreated monster, but it should still be big enough to make sure you are having a good time and progressing through, assuming you have the 4 other champions that are pretty much going to be carrying the Spider run outside of the support of Helicath, or anyone else you choose to use in place of Helicath, because while he is going to be good, he's definitely not going to be the best option for players in the Spider dungeon. Now, let's talk about the clan boss. This is something that surprised me. First, I tried this on Brutal. I said, let's go for a shot in the dark. Let's hit Brutal, and it worked pretty well. So I said, let's step this up one more notch here and head up to Nightmare. What I'm going to do first is I'm just going to master this guy, just in case you guys are curious as to what you would want. Ideally, as we can see, I am not wearing 2 accessories here to counterbalance what we were talking about before here. So if you had to do masteries on this guy, I would go with the typical clan boss mastery tree for all content you would consider using this guy in. So we're just going to head straight down the offense tree to War Master to make sure he's doing a decent amount of damage here. We're going to go ahead through the defense tree. Now, there is an argument to be made where you could go the support tree. If you are lacking accuracy for that weekend, you can go that approach. Also, if you're using defense set gears, Lore of Steel is going to have high priority and value for you. But if you're not using that, if you would rather go the safe way, there's a ton of damage reduction to be had here from the defense tree. I've gone over this in a video before on masteries, where the defense tree is far superior to the support tree as far as survivability goes, just because of how crazy the talents are in this mastery tree. So I would personally recommend going with this route here. Yes, there's going to be counterattack overlapping based on his passive with block damage, so you're not going to get the full benefit of it, but it is better than nothing for sure here. So this is what I would personally recommend. If you want the extra resistance, you can do that for sure. If not, you can just take anything like Wrath of the Slain, because Helicath is most likely going to be one of the ones surviving all the way up until the end here. So let's head straight to the clan boss here. We have 41 minutes until reset. We're going to go straight to Nightmare, hit battle here. This is the team I'm going to be using. Like I said before, Grush, I've raved about Grush being one of the greatest login reward champions you can get, of course, outside of any legendaries. So we have Helicath, Venomage, Grush the Mangler, Ursula the Mourner, and finally Kale here. Now, I know this is not the most optimal clan boss team, but we get to see how this fares. And just in case you're curious about the team's setup, if you do plan on using something similar to this, it's pretty much going to be the same thing. I don't have round 2 and 3 set up for anybody. Make sure Venomage's Neurotoxin is going to be on the first priority here. Grush the Mangler, I prioritize the A3, and Ursula I didn't prioritize anything. What you want to make sure you have here is attack down is going to be important. Someone putting up defense up on champions here, because like I said, we're not speed tuned here. If you want to speed tune a team, you're going to have to change the team, and it's not going to be as successful for the dungeon. So I said, let's just let this fly. Throw all of these champions in with the gear we use to complete Dragon outside of Grush the Mangler, who's at a random 214 speed based on what I had to take off and leave on him. And let's just see how we do here. So since he is slower than the clan boss itself, it is going to be a little bit risky, but we can definitely watch this play out, see what happens here. The synergy between having defense up strengthened from Ursula, having of course a shield block damage from Helicath, and then of course Grush the Mangler providing the leech, which replaces lifesteal gear. Most early game players I know is going to have lifesteal already, but gearing 5 champions with lifesteal isn't the easiest thing to do right away here, especially with the forge being so strong. So what does Grush do? It allows you to use that really good perception gear, possibly good resilience gear that you can get from the forge early on, and really use that to your advantage here. Defense down is going to be something that's going to be lacking a little bit on this team based on how many times our Venomage does get stunned here, and of course that is going to be a damage loss in the end. But overall, I was pretty happy with the performance of this team here. Now, I'm sure Deadwood Jedi, being the infamous Deadwood Jedi, is going to min-max a clan boss team perfectly for Helicath. Not just one team, I would expect, I don't know, 2-3 teams. You know, once that guy has his mindset on the clan boss, he's going to full send and give you guys incredible teams to use. But unless he figures out a way to do it unbooked, this is going to be the unbooked version, and I'm not going to speculate. I haven't seen any of his work yet, so maybe he has an unbooked version. I would say 6 turns is a little bit long, but if anyone can figure out, it's definitely going to be Deadwood Jedi here. So as we can see, we're doing pretty decent damage so far. Turn 11, 4.6. I believe you need just under 40 million damage to 1-key this. Now, this isn't going to be a 1-key team. I'm pretty sure there's no dragon team that can just head straight into the clan boss and just 1-key out of the bat. But if you do finally reach stage 20 in the dragon, you get some good gear. You follow the gear levels pretty close to mine. You have similar champions and similar synergies that I am showing you here today. This is going to be an easy 3-key on all the affinities. 2 keys going to be a little bit questionable, but listen, the fact that you can 3-key is going to be pretty nice if you are just approaching those levels of hitting stage 20 and heading straight to Nightmare. I know that wasn't the case for me. Even as someone who spent money when they first started the game, I did not hit stage 20 and start clearing Nightmare straight out the gate. I had to wait for champions like Maneater, all of those other good ones, and unless I see otherwise, you can use this to your advantage. You can use this team to get by until you get a solid unkillable team with lower speeds, or if you already have dungeon teams, you can wait for a composition with reasonable speeds, and when you do have enough books to use him for an all affinity Nightmare or Ultra Nightmare team for sure here. So as we can see, we are approaching 10 million damage on boss turn count 20. The damage is going to start ramping up. I would expect people to start dying very soon here. The stun, it's doing about half health, if not a little bit more. So we probably have, I don't know, 3 or 4 more stuns until it's going to be just one shots over and over again. And of course, if we do lose Ursula the Mourner here, The run's going to be ending rather quickly. Let's see what happens. Okay, so she's definitely dead here. Kind of unlucky and unfortunate RNG. Maybe if the cooldowns synced up a little bit better, we would have been in a better state overall here. So this is looking like it's going to fall a little bit short of a 2 key, although I'm not going to speak too early because we still do have 2 dead and 3 alive here. 3 who can pump out some serious damage here, but this just comes down to the RNG of things, who gets stunned, who doesn't get stunned here. We are looking for, I believe, 13 million damage to kind of secure that 3 key with a team where you had to spend no silver re-gearing for, no books on that you wouldn't have already used here, and we are going to be just a little bit shy of that 3 key with the one shot there. So 12.39 million damage with a no effort team heading straight into Nightmare. These champions are not going to be the most ideal for clan boss. I don't have to tell you guys that, but when you're early game, you don't have this huge roster of champions to pick from, unless you're spending, of course, and then you can make a way better team than this. If you want to swap this in with any legendaries you have, you can absolutely do that. And being able to hit that 3 key and 2 key threshold is going to be much easier on the Nightmare difficulty. So what I want to know from you guys now is, do you want to see another video where I kind of cater more towards the late game players? End game players, like I've said before, this is going to be a for fun champion. He does look really cool, I will give them that. But as far as using this champion, I just really don't see it as if you're end game outside of the for fun factor. But if you are late game, if you're saying, okay, let's step this up a notch, I want to see what he's like booked, what can he do when he's booked, I can definitely make dungeon teams with him fully booked using much better champions. Not necessarily adding him into a full legendary team, but I can definitely min-max, figure out fast teams for stage 25 dungeons. So if you do want to see that, leave a comment below, let me know what you think. And if you think this guy's going to be a massive asset to your account, absolutely go for him. If you're a bit turned off by the book count and you already have champions that can do what he does, as far as giving you that dungeon efficiency currently in the game, you can definitely skip and save for a better champion. But even with the long cooldowns, if you do have the champions and the synergy to max together, you can use this champion just how you can use Seal of Drakes here. While he does add a little bit more survivability as far as the damage you do take, he doesn't have a revive, so I would compare him pretty closely to Seal of Drakes. Now, Seal of Drakes is very good. I don't think this guy is going to convince someone like my fellow content creator Ash that he's going to be better than Seal of Drakes, but we all know how much Ash likes that champion. So as always, guys, that's going to conclude this video. If you enjoyed this content, smash that like button, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and I will see you all in my next upload.